Hey guys, it is Dan here with Merlin, aka Joe, in many circles, and this is Freaks and Geeks Friday. We're back. We took a week off to review a Pee-wee video for a little Pee-wee birthday and anniversary of the movie bit.
Subscriber request.
Because I had a subscriber request, so we wanted to honor that, and we don't need to do these Freaks and Geeks every single week, but
sure
we would like to.
Got to do what we're trying to.
So we're trying to, but Frasier Friday certainly didn't happen every week.
No.
I would say many weeks were missed. Although some of that was Corona. We can't
Usually on a
that.
Friday, though. We kept with the theme.
Yes, it was. I always put it up on a Friday, every time. So we're up to now episode 5 of Freaks and Geeks, which is called Tests and Chests. They're back with the blank and blank bit of the title. This was, I don't think, now, I know I say this every time, I don't think this is going to be a 50-minute talk. My prediction for this video is more like a 30 or a 35er. But,
you know what? I'm going to go on a limb. I mean, it's always us, so it never is the case.
I guess that's true.
But I will say I might agree with you on this one.
Okay.
Also, we did do a short podcast once. Our Daredevil one. It's very short.
Yes, that's right. Daredevil was short. Not much to say, seeing as how the best parts of the movie were cut out. For the theatrical cut. But
see what I'm doing though? It's gonna get longer.
I know. Now you're just killing time. But same era actually, because Daredevil was like what, 2002?
Yeah, actually,
and
pretty
this
close.
was 2000, 99, 2000. So here we go. All right. So in this episode, first of all, did you remember that the last episode was not shown on TV, the Kim Kelly bit?
Of course.
So as you were watching this, did you think about how confusing it might be to somebody watching this show that Lindsay and Kim are sort of...
stole money from my mom.
Maybe not buddy,
I thought it was
but...
my brother, but like,
she talked about her family.
And I was like, and she's like, oh yeah, like they know each other. That would have been like weird.
Wouldn't that have been weird to hear? Also,
like I missed something.
This part I didn't quite understand, and we'll get into the whole episode. But there is a part of this episode that is confusing to me, as that last episode, Kim Kelly as my friend, does exist. And that is when Daniel comes to the house to get tutored. He was just there in the last episode making out hard with Kim Kelly in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But yet the dad doesn't know him. And then she reintroduces him. Oh, this is my friend Daniel. Seems a bit odd.
You know what? That didn't bother me.
Okay.
Because I thought he did remember him. He just wasn't happy to see him because he gave him that look. And also, he might not have remembered him specifically. Because how long ago was this? Too.
I mean, it was the episode before, so I like to think a week. If they don't give me a time frame, I usually think it's a week away.
Yeah, I guess I didn't pick up on that. I got the sense the character knew who he was. Maybe like need a reminder.
Maybe. She said, "This is my friend Daniel," as if they had not been making out in the week before.
Dan,
but all right.
But how about this?
Tell me.
Sometimes parents don't remember. You might have to be reintroduced.
I guess that's true.
That happened all the time.
This is so and so. Yeah, I guess that's true.
You know what I mean? So that's not the most unbelievable thing I've ever heard.
How about when he was smoking a cigarette as the door was answered? Yeah.
And then he goes in and then pulls it out.
And he puts it out. Well, first he puts it out with his fingers and then puts the stub in his pocket.
Then he's like on her bed, getting to smoke it, and then goes out to smoke it again. Meets Sam. So it's just like a lot of cigarette smoking.
A lot of Daniel in this episode.
Yes, it's kind of...
And zero Seth Rogen again, I think.
Yes, zero Seth.
Right?
Is he
a little bit of Siegel. He must have been doing movies at this time, too. Don't forget, his star was certainly rising quicker, I think, than the other guys.
Johnny Darko was soon.
Yeah, so he might have been out doing movies here and there. But, all right, so let's talk about this episode, then. We've already talked about the minutia a little bit, but let's talk about the themes of these episodes. So you've got the tests and the chests. Let's hear about both parts.
Oh, you want me to do the summary?
Well, you always do.
Well, that is true. Well, basically, Daniel is struggling in algebra because, probably missed a lot of classes. And so he decides that he wants to get some help. So he decides...
Well, he gets basically threatened by the teacher that if he fails one more test, he's going to have to repeat that class next year with this same teacher that he does not get along with. So that really puts the fire under him to do well on this test.
And I'm blanking. What's her name again?
Lindsay.
Yeah. Completely forgot. But yeah, Lindsay is, of course, smart. So he goes to her.
Yeah, she took algebra the year before.
She's in trig now.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, oh, I can help you. And he's thinking, okay, you're going to help me, thinking he's going to help her basically cheat.
Right.
And she doesn't want to do that. She
doesn't quite get that memo.
She doesn't get it right away. She's like, no, we can study. And, like, she doesn't want to cheat.
He doesn't even bring his book to her house.
The textbook, studying is not for me. And, he actually gets Jason Segel to distract the teacher.
Yes.
So he can go.
Great scene with Jason Segel.
With him drumming on the windows. Which, does that character come back, that girl he was talking to?
Yes.
I liked her.
She plays prominently in the end of the season. / end of the series, I guess. But that is, What's-Her-Face. And I always forget her real name. And we're shooting on my phone, so I can't look it up.
Dang it.
But she was in the interview as Seth Rogen and James Franco's
go-to
kind of boss.
Okay.
Like she set up the interview. She's been in a bunch of different shows. She was on Masters of Sex on Showtime for years. And I always forget her real name, but she's a great actress. So she's been. This is the second episode she's appeared in, just in a very small role. But yeah, she plays prominently into the series finale.
Okay, well that's cool. I liked her, and I liked that exchange. I like the fact that she was clearly interested in him, and he didn't notice or whatever because he was distracted. But I did like the whole him trying to distract people.
Yes.
That was pretty good.
That was good. Always playing the drums.
Just thinking about ABBA. I was like, what?
Yes.
It gets you to just drum
and
on
he hates disco, which we see sort of throughout, but we already know, like, he's a big Zeppelin fan. He was upset about John Bonham.
Yep.
So when she mentions ABBA, he's just like right away. He's like,
off.
any attraction I felt for this girl, I'm
gone.
Like done.
She doesn't get what real music is.
Right.
It's hilarious. It's like, aren't they? He tries to kind of make conversation like, aren't they from Switzerland? No, they're from Sweden.
They're from Sweden.
That was pretty good. So I liked that.
Okay.
And eventually that kind of culminates in the whole like, the teacher says, there was an anonymous note, Lindsay, that said you cheated, you helped somebody cheat on the test, and she denies it, but he's going through with it anyway. And then there's going to be a meeting with her parents.
What a lie that
guidance
note
counselor. The fact is that was a lie.
Total lie.
For the algebra teacher
note about it
to try and fess up, and I loved, all right.
And Daniel even tells her, like, when she comes to him and is like, look, I don't want to be involved with this anymore. Like, I'm in trouble now. You got me lying to my parents.
It's too late.
He was just like, okay, but listen. When they're going to good cop, bad cop you, they're going to get you in a room and tell you that I confessed. I didn't confess. I'm telling you right now that will never happen. So he already knows all the tricks
how to
of
get
the
past
trade
things.
because he's done this.
But she's
before.
so honest and even says I'm a terrible liar.
Yes.
And I loved when her friend is like, "What I heard? What's going on? You got to be a mathlete again?"
Yes, her goody two shoes
like,
friend.
I helped somebody cheat on the test and she doesn't believe.
Right? Yeah, she's like
good
laughing in her face.
Good one.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good. Well, I guess we can just dive into this part of the plot if you want.
Yeah.
We usually break up the freaks and the geeks.
Let's do it.
First of all, I want to say.
Well, okay, but hold on. Okay, I guess we should.
They kind of be separate.
But they are separate. But
except
of course, Daniel sort of turns the second part, the B story, like on its ear by giving.
Well, but I feel like that's a separate part.
But that's a separate part, so we'll talk about that later.
Usually,
okay.
I feel like
that's
we do the freak and geek stuff sort of separate.
Fair.
But you're right; they are connected as always.
Yeah, and because of certain things that happen, I want to hear your take on the Daniel character in this episode because I think this is a very Daniel-centric episode.
Yes.
I think he's probably the star of the episode.
That's what I was going to say. I think it's a very Daniel-centric one,
which we haven't really seen much of.
Which I want to say I'm happy about.
Yeah.
Because thus far, Daniel has been, I think, as Dan would say, the worst.
He's not been great. He's the worst.
From what we've seen, so I liked
making out with other people,
and making Kim Kelly upset.
Yep.
No, really, I remember the last episode. I said I hate this guy, of course.
Always.
But, naturally, because it's a well-written show, I'm going to see nuances.
You come around
He's a person.
when they develop characters.
Okay, and so this episode we see James Franco doing a great job.
Yes.
Really fleshing out this character.
As always.
Very believable, very well written. And I will say, I appreciate the focus on him, and I felt like he was... I felt a little more for the character. Like, he was a little more... I don't know, like, I could get behind him a little bit.
Yeah.
However... the episode ended with me still thinking that even though I think he's a well-written character and I kind of like him a little more, I still think he's a piece of crap.
Well, and I think
he's a piece of crap.
The point. I don't think the point of this episode was to like Kim Kelly.
But no, I liked her more by the end.
But that's what I mean. Like I should say, unlike Kim Kelly, where we had her focus in the episode, and it really
And-
shone a light on a lot of things. We don't necessarily get that here. I don't think
We see another side of him.
I don't think we necessarily want to maybe sympathize with him as much as we did with Kim Kelly.
Well, all right.
And by the way, the actress is Lizzie Kaplan. It's in the interview.
Oh, okay.
And,
I like
Masters
Lizzie
of
Kaplan.
Sex.
She was
I
good.
like her too. She's been in a lot of
You
things.
mentioned
She's always
Master of
good.
Sex a lot on the show.
Because that's the thing. I
Any
think
reason?
she's most known for
Really?
starring in, because
Oh.
it was her and Michael Sheen. They were like the stars, but it was her show.
Cool.
Um,
Should I check it out?
we should watch it sometime, because I have the
Masters
Blu-ray.
of Sex
Masters
Sunday or
of Sex
something.
Monday. Masters Monday, they call it.
But
Right.
I really appreciate good storytelling, good writing to really flesh out a good character, and I
Yeah.
think we get to see more of Daniel, and I like the performance overall. But I definitely
Yeah.
agree with you. I thought it was interesting how I found him more likable, but I'm like, you really are kind of you're acting because okay,
And he's not as much though of a throwaway character.
no.
Like, love him or hate him, you can admit that he is definitely more well-rounded by the end of this episode.
Sure. Okay, all right. All right. We're gonna spoil something because we always do.
Yeah, the Freaks and Geeks reviews we can spoil.
Because I wanted to pick your brain on this part.
Okay.
Of course, the culmination is the meeting with the teacher, the guidance counselor,
Right.
the parents, like confronting the two of them. Did this happen? And I thought it was great, where they're like, okay, first of all, the guidance counselor has faith in her. I love it.
Always.
It's like,
He takes her aside beforehand.
I got. All right.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna. My biggest laugh
Okay.
was the guidance counselor is talking to her about like cheating.
About his story.
Like,
Yes.
I helped a guy cheat on his biology test. Oh, okay. And he turned it around. And, no, he beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, no,
He beat the literal crap out.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Like, what a great story.
I'm not sure what that was supposed to
Get her to-
impart on her.
Like he's a bad person.
Um,
Like he's kind of agreeing with the other teacher.
But
a
you
little
see
bit.
throughout the episode that he is.
Oh, I love that guy.
You love him, and I love him. He's a great.
He's supportive.
Great guy.
He's a great guy.
But he goes up to various people in the hallway, and it's like, hey,
man.
haven't seen you by in a while. Come by and rap, at the office.
And they're making fun of him.
And they're making fun of him, which
I think what teachers would,
they would do.
But they're right. He was probably hippie back
But
then.
he was a
Yeah.
hippie. He was a big, pot smoking hippie.
Sure.
I'm sure. That's why they were laughing when they had the assembly a couple
Yeah,
episodes
like
ago.
hypocrisy.
Right, the hypocrisy.
So
So
it's great.
always good. And he's a great part of the show.
I love that
I'm
character.
glad he was
I
in
think
it.
great in this episode.
And very good in this episode. But yes, he has so much faith in
her. And in Daniel to some extent.
Well, I think
it's more because
of his faith
association.
in her.
Yes, and he's like, when she says, "I didn't do it," I believe you. And that was first. You thought it was gonna be short, but okay. First of all, that tore me up a little bit because that is her. She is kind of going
Just bold face lying or bald
to
face
everybody,
lying,
her
whatever the
parents,
phrase
and
is.
I don't really like that about her, and she doesn't feel good about it. And the
She
fact
hates it,
she does lie to
actually.
the guidance counselor, and he does legitimately believe that. I was very believable,
Yeah.
real, but I thought it sucked. But it was a brilliant moment.
Well, in her and of course, in her mind, she's like, look,
She's just trying to.
I'm sick of this. I don't want to lie to people. I don't want to. But
also,
I'm already in so deep that if I admit that I did this, the ass is really going to hit the fan.
I'm trying to keep track of all these thoughts.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're not wrong. I'm thinking, oh man. Okay, try to condense it. But the reason she kind of keeps going on with that facade is because she actually tries to talk to the teacher, says give him an extension, and he just like the teacher just says
Yes,
no.
in the middle of the episode, when she...
That was heavy.
This is what, the reason she decides, yes, I'm going to help him cheat. Right. She goes in, and the guy flat out is just like,
He's
you
a
know
loser.
What? He's a loser.
He'll bring you down.
Da-da-da-da-da. And she was like...
Wow.
The part that got me was when she said something to the effect of like, well, don't you want to help him? Like, is it your job to help him? And he basically says like that Daniel should just be wiped off the earth.
He should
Daniel shouldn't exist anymore.
Yeah, like he just is a worthless piece of garbage. And he also was like, you're smart. Don't let your hormones get the best. And I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
you're not allowed to say that. Not anymore. Wow.
Not anymore, but
so I was just
1980,
like,
sure.
I was like, he's probably thinking you're pretty smart for a woman. Like, what is? So this guy's got a chip on his shoulder. But I got to say something. All right, first of all, I love the adults and the teachers' perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think this is almost the parent episode in a lot of ways, too.
They're certainly in it a lot.
With the teachers seeing their perspective, because you want to hate that guy. And that is a moment where I'm like, that's intense. But first of all, you hear about his reasoning and his own baggage with the Vietnam. I knew guys like that would get people killed. And the guy in the council was like, wow, like, I don't really know what to say to that.
Yeah.
Also,
that was good.
In a weird way, he's right.
Well, of course.
And that's also what's like the irony of this.
Daniel is a loser. He is a go nowhere loser.
And the thing is, I like Lindsay's character a lot,
Yeah.
and I know she's trying to fit in, determine what's cool and what's not. I get it, but like, I don't like this path she's going down, and I see. Like you suggested, he's bringing her in because she is attractive. Even though the teacher is saying something kind of rude, he's not wrong.
Yes,
and that's the thing that's very interesting.
Look,
it's very interesting.
Maybe it's changed now. I don't know. This is 40 years later, but
I think it's.
I think there comes a time when a teacher just has to give up on certain students.
I hope. Ooh.
I don't think it's the same today, but. Because teachers are supposed to be more hands-on
we try
today.
To find a way for every student to
I
succeed
think back in the
somehow.
80s, I think it was
it
was a lot easier to just look, I need to focus on students that are actually going to make it, students that actually have a chance. So this guy's dead weight, da 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 da. And is every teacher going to be like that? No, but obviously this math teacher has
been through
a lot with Daniel, probably specifically. And obviously Daniel is a slacker of a student, so he's probably just fed up.
So honestly, I didn't. I kind of liked that teacher. I thought he was a tough character. He didn't.
Yeah.
I was kind of on his side.
Okay.
Like, wow, I thought that was surprisingly well written.
Yeah.
Well written moment.
How about the lie though about the note?
And I also want to talk about that. The lie about the note.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
the anonymous note that he said happened but never happened.
That was shady, but I kind of liked it because it worked. And I thought that was interesting.
It ended up working, I guess, but he could have done all of the same things without that. Although she did come to Daniel saying about the note, which Daniel was like, "That's meaningless."
I thought it was devious, but it was clever. I don't know. I thought it was an evil teacher move, but
I guess
I thought it was interesting.
It didn't endear his character to me.
No, but I thought
as some of the other things did.
Oh, I mean, I don't like the guy as much as like the guidance counselor.
Like he was going to call her parents regardless. What does he need to make up a note for?
Because, like you said, he's given up. He's kind of maybe going past certain boundaries.
I guess.
I'm just saying he's not like the nicest guy.
I don't like the note bit.
The note bit might have been pushing it. Like he's not the greatest guy, but clearly he's going to these lengths for a lot of frustration.
Well, and how about the conclusion where he...
All right,
everybody believes... Okay, so now we're
at the
that's
what I actually want to talk about.
Okay, talk about it.
Well, first of all, there's the recurring a story that Daniel tells about like when he was going to middle school and they're going to put him on the track and how he uses that to get Lindsay to feel sympathy for him.
I have a story about that, by the way.
Oh, good.
That I learned from the commentary.
Can't wait.
Okay.
Great
it's
moment.
It's pretty good, actually.
Great moment, and you know what? I'm a sucker.
Did
I believed
it.
I believed it.
Okay.
I thought, okay, well, maybe this is our piece of him, and like he really is worried about. And then he does the same rehearsed thing. I'm like, wow, that might have been a complete lie. And she kind of breaks down.
At that point in time, she realizes, like,
well, this
is his
act.
I have been
duped by him.
Yeah.
And so are they all. And she's the only one not buying. And it was fantastic because they're all buying
laughing.
That was great ending. And wow. That was... I wouldn't ask you about that.
We can ask many things about it. So first of all, this is Paul Feig's favorite ending of the entire series. Any episode, this is his favorite final scene.
It's kind of a dark ending in a way.
Very dark.
It's pretty cynical.
But he loves that whole crack up thing with Lindsay.
That was good.
So this sort of position of Daniel's, this rehearsed bit, this let me wring some tears out of here, right? This is based on a true thing that happened with one of Judd Apatow's friends, who later became a famous actor.
Oh, wow.
And it's funny that you say, oh, wow, because the person is Owen
No, it
Wilson.
isn't.
Yes, it is.
That's perfect.
So I don't know if they were in college together or whatever, but yeah, apparently the Daniel portion of this episode is based on
something he did.
Owen Wilson getting caught cheating, and he lays on this big sob fest for the people.
4 and I was the dumbest kid.
Isn't that funny?
Oh, wow, that is. First of all, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so it came from a real.
These are the things you learn from the show.
Watch
Freaks Geeks Fridays.
Watch your special features, people. But add to the realism and the believability.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. First of all, I knew it was, I guess, kind of, maybe it was cliche, but I did like it. But they surprised me. When the teacher, the devious algebra one, was like, well, I'll tell you what, have him solve one of the problems without, do it in front of me, and then I'll believe you. really
Smart.
good. And I was like, oh, scheisse. But Dan, you know what?
Tell me.
You know what I thought? I thought because he was picking up some of the studies, he'd solve it. I thought so. I was like, okay, and then maybe some of it came through. And even though he's bad, even though he's a cheater, some of it did come through, and there's hope for him, right?
Well, he did say about the equation when he picked up.
I know about quadratic
I guess
equations.
I need to do the quadratic equation.
So I was like, okay, all right, maybe he'll get out of this one. I'm like, okay, there's something.
You had some hope.
I had some
Freaks
hope.
and Geeks is more real than that.
I know, but then he just writes Led Zeppelin.
He writes Zeppelin rules or Zeppelin Rock.
Which came to my other big gag, which was...
Okay, I have a story about that too.
What is that? And the guy comes like, oh, Led Zeppelin's a popular rock. But I know
what Led Zeppelin is.
The dad had some
Classic
great lines.
Mr. Weir.
Love Mr. Weir so much.
He was actually supposed to draw their the Led Zeppelin like swan symbol, but it was copyrighted.
Oh.
So it was supposed to be like he was supposed to
Led
reveal the page, and it was supposed to be this beautiful replication of the album cover or whatever.
Nice. Just over
their
time.
symbol.
Was somebody watching him for so long?
Right, I guess.
The dad was like, look at him go. It's quite a problem. Like he believed her. The last line, my.
So that's why when they were like, "What is this?"
My daughter's a good girl. This school's terrible for her. She should track one girl.
Yes, she keeps saying she's a track one girl.
Oh man,
he keeps telling her she's a track one girl as she's laughing.
Yeah,
he's like, "What's funny about this? You're a track one girl."
Oh, and also actually, and to be honest, even though I know you think I love the algebra teacher now, you know,
yeah, favorite character.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
You love the guidance counselor.
No, I love the guidance counselor more.
Okay.
But the dad, I love that the dad's like, you should be teaching him better. You're clearly not teaching him. Well, what am I? I'll quit teaching. That'd be happy. That's a start.
That'd be a start.
So no,
always
that was great.
Always funny.
I love the dad. So he kind of is like begrudgingly into it.
Well, he turns on a dime because as soon as he got the phone call. He
You
was
liar.
like, Lindsay, and then, she blows up at that and is like, you guys don't trust me. So then, right away, he's just like, okay. So he goes into this meeting like guns a-blazing.
Like, my daughter's
how dare you, accuse my daughter of this. I think he's
deflective.
I just think he maybe realizes that, like, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't jump to conclusions. But my daughter's a good girl.
But I love that once he believed in that, he was behind Daniel the whole time and like go attacking the teacher at the school.
Yes.
And thinking her breaking down is because
he's thinking like she's a great tutor, like she's really turned this kid's life around.
She's high as a kite. My daughter's not high.
Here's the problem with their entire plan.
Okay.
He got an A.
That was my issue. I thought they were going to be smart and get a couple wrong.
How could she not... I know she's not very well versed at cheating.
Duping people.
How could she not say to him, like, okay, now you can't get all of these right. Like, go for a C. Like, he just said if you fail it again, you have to repeat. All you have to do is not fail. Like, get a C or a D. You're fine.
A little more believable. Like, okay. But an A...
But the thought that he could get an A is obviously going to,
raise some eyebrows.
Right, raise some eyebrows with the teacher and all of that. So...
Yes. But they surprised me, and I thought it was a really brilliant way to do that. To say at the end, like, okay, no, it did fail, have her fess up, but then just kind of have him sort of take the fall for her a little bit, but with still trying to get out of it the whole time. Yeah. I thought that was okay. So this is the who he is.
And her just realizing, like when he's telling her the same sob story,
breaks her mind
with the same emotions, and it's like, she just loses it.
So, and I thought that was brilliant.
She's just like, I can't believe I fell for this dude. Well, and I'll tell you one thing. This is sort of the breaking point with these two characters.
Good.
Like I had said earlier, and this was true, that originally they had sort of planned a Lindsay Daniel kind of back and forth.
Okay.
And then when they saw the chemistry with her and Jason Segel, they were like, maybe this is the direction we want to go in, and maybe make Kim Kelly and Daniel more on and off, and leave Lindsay kind of out of it completely. This is sort of the episode that breaks her of the Daniel lust.
Good, because I'm glad she's over him, because he's probably not the best person to hang out with.
Well, even when she goes to Kim Kelly and is like, oh, have you seen Daniel? Like, I want to tutor him. She laughs in her face and is like, oh, yeah, like, Daniel's going to do that. Like, if he doesn't get the answers from you, he's just going to get them from someone else next time.
Yeah.
So, Kim Kelly really does, try to be a friend.
Honest, and
she's
help her out.
I don't know why she's with Daniel if she sees this in him, but whatever.
Classic issue, I guess.
Birds of a feather. But, like, she flat out tells her, like, if it's not you, it's going to be from somebody else. So, I don't know what you think you're doing. Like, yeah. It's very sad.
But
this happens.
It's a believable, like I said, a lot of
Always
it, I'll say it again, it's very believable.
Yeah.
It seems very high school, a lot like the B plot. We'll get into that a lot.
Okay.
Very interesting. But this whole part of it, I just thought was, honestly, it subverted my expectations.
Okay.
Even if they went the more traditional way, it still could have been well written.
Yeah.
But I was like, wow, this was kind of
This went
cynical.
above.
But I'm glad that it will add to her character and kind of get her kind of on the right track.
Yeah, like if I told you going into the episode,
Oh,
okay,
I
this
love it
episode's
more.
going to be, not that you would love it more, but this episode's
her.
going to be, okay.
Like she'll fall
This
more.
this episode's going to be Daniel-centric, and it's about him cheating on a test and dragging Lindsay down with him.
I'd be mad.
You would be mad going into this episode.
I would have been because
I don't think it makes his character redeemed, but it does.
it's fleshed out.
It fleshes out a lot about him and how maybe the teacher's not wrong. Maybe he is at this point in his life
And that's
a lost cause.
that's kind of the areas I guess maybe the show goes into is it kind of shows that line where I'm like I said, not going about it the right way. Maybe he's not right, but maybe he kind of based upon everything we see in the episode as a character, that's kind of the irony of it.
What's funny is a lot of people in this sort of situation when they're 16, 17 that are on that path, it really can go one of two ways.
Yes.
And a supportive teacher can go a long way
Yes.
to one direction.
Yes.
Where he doesn't have that.
Makes all the difference. I hoping to get an education. I'm trying to keep this stuff in mind. You don't want to give up on kids.
Right.
But
like I said, I think it's a lot different 40 years on.
Yeah, in
now.
1980,
but
I'm
in the
sure.
80s, I don't think it really was. Teachers, I don't think took their work home with them nearly as much as they do now.
And also,
that kind of thing.
Daniel's story does seem like something that could have come up because, having kids on different tracks, and there's different ways to word it now and focus on it. But I could easily see a kid taking that way, which is why all the characters believe it.
Well, that's when I went to school in the early '90s. I was in high school, and it was special ed kids weren't necessarily the kids who had learning issues or whatever had mental deficiencies. A lot of them
of reasons actually,
like burnout type kids,
emotional
like Daniel.
stuff. Yeah, actually.
And it was just sort of they all were lumped together as sort of lost causes or whatever you want to say.
And I'm sure kids obviously would joke about this sort of thing, and it's just kind of saying maybe some teachers feel that way too. And the sad thing is, it's tough, but it's like those feelings are realistic,
right?
Which is why I think the algebraic teacher is just a good representation of that.
Oh, I agree.
And I think he's just a well-written character for what he is.
The Vietnam bit was a nice touch
Nuance,
to his character.
That's kind of why I'm giving him Vietnam vet. I'm giving him a little bit of leeway. I think fair, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But okay, do you want
to? So let's talk about
the best part.
I don't know.
I don't know.
For you, it usually is. This is certainly the B story.
Definitely.
For this week.
Or the S story.
Well, B for breasts.
Yes. I think you said chests.
Well, that's the name of the title.
Is it? I thought it was breasts.
No, I think it's
I guess
chests.
in my mind I knew
chests and chests.
Exactly what they were talking about.
But so first of all, now that you know the gym teacher and the health teacher is Biff from Back to the Future, it's so obvious in this one, right?
I
mean, right in that first scene.
I feel so bad because
he looks the same.
I know it's like one of your favorite movies, but in that first episode, I completely did not think of Biff, and now this whole episode I was like, oh, it's Biff.
And in that first episode, because he was in the gym uniform and stuff, I think he was wearing a hat, he had the whistle, and he was being aggressive about dodgeball. Here in the very opening scene, he just looks like Biff. He's Biff.
I loved it.
Good.
And I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything.
So he's now the health,
so we gotta do
gym/health teacher. So he's doing sex ed.
Yeah, sex ed.
Sam is a bit behind developmentally, and physically.
His friends are kind of like talking about things, and the teacher keeps thinking he's saying things under his breath, and makes him stand up and say, "Oh, well, since you're paying attention here so much, point to the cervix or whatever." And everybody laughs at him. He's Dr. Love.
Yes.
The kid that was bullying him got head lice.
By the way, I have a story about that too. I'm glad you mentioned him.
Keep it up. It was good to see him come back. At least I did.
That part wasn't in the script, the head lice bit. It wasn't an ad lib, but he showed up for the shoot, and he had done that to his hair.
Oh, nice.
He showed up with a shorn hair.
Because I almost didn't recognize him.
So they were like, well, we can't just throw him in there like this without a comment. So after they had him
That's
sort
good.
of ribbing Sam,
That's
they
really
gave him
clever.
the headlights line.
That was a good move.
Yeah.
Like, good little bit. I love that. The
Yeah.
callback. Continuity.
Very funny, yeah.
Continuity. I love it.
Yeah.
And, obviously this gets them all kind of, interested in the female anatomy.
Sure.
And, of course, Sam
How
knows
things
about
work
trying to go out with that one girl. He's still trying
Yes.
ice cream
God,
stand.
we love her.
She's very nice. I thought it was cute when they were together.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wants to get confidence. So that's where eventually it kind of meets up with Daniel.
Yes.
He's standing outside. And
Daniel's outside to catch a smoke.
looking at the textbook. You won't learn anything from a book like this.
Well, and what's funny is I love the little moment they have.
That was good.
Where Sam talks about like, oh, well, I don't get this stuff, so everybody's making fun of me, and that's exactly what Daniel's going through with math.
Yes.
So he's just like, oh, I get.
They
get
do
what
relate.
Yeah, he's like, I know what you mean.
See, and that's
You
also
know.
that's another good thing to bring up, man, because once again, although I don't really like Daniel that much, in his own way, trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And that was a good moment.
Well, and just a few episodes ago, they were egging this kid.
Exactly.
And now that Lindsay's really, entrenched in the gang here, and her and Kim Kelly are friends, everybody's looking out for Sam just like they are for Lindsay. So, yeah, I thought that was a very nice moment that he was just like, I know exactly what you mean, kid.
Definitely.
And so then he decides to bring him in a porno on a
reel
to reel.
Because I was thinking, when they brought that in, I was like,
8mm or whatever.
this
I
is
don't
a
know.
little early for VCR. I was like, so who's got a
Yeah,
projector?
you know what's funny is projectors were hot back in the 80s.
Were they?
We were not, we had no money, but my dad actually would borrow one from work sometimes.
Ooh.
And bring it home, because you could rent the videos, they weren't really videos, I guess, whatever, the films,
film reels.
the film reels from the library. And they would have like
Oh.
Looney Tunes, they would have like Herbie the Love Bug, and so we had white walls, so we just set it up in the living room and ran it on the wall.
I feel like
And I had a few friends that had a little more money, and they actually owned projectors.
well, we might have brought this up in one of the Dan Does Disney's, but back in the day, I guess pre-rental stores, did people just buy reels from the studio? Did they rent them? What do you get? Where did you get a movie
that's a
in the
good
70s?
question. I don't know.
Like, if you want to watch a movie at your home on a projector, where would you get it? Would you get it? Or just be in
I
theaters? and you're out of
really
luck?
don't know.
would be-
That's a great question.
Because I thought it was.
I
Really
know we used to get them from the library.
And I'm wondering,
Library would rent out them for people that had projectors.
like a porno film, he might have gotten it from one of those places.
Yeah, I mean,
stolen it.
He may have
inherited
gotten it from a
porno
parent,
house
or a strip club, or
something like that.
like a cat house, a burlesque house, whatever.
But then I guess Neil has the projector.
Neil has a projector,
So he's the
so
guy.
he said, "Come on over."
And Sam and Bill, they go over and they watch it. They're going to learn it. We're going to watch it over and over. That's what you do.
Yep.
And I really, well, first of all, I thought the sex ed stuff was actually very, very realistic. Everybody
Yeah.
laughing about the jokes.
Uh-huh.
I was like, this is how it was. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very accurate feeling. All those.
Should we talk about the joke that Sam doesn't get? That's sort of a thread throughout the episode.
I rang that.
Yeah.
That's how I rang the doorbell.
Yeah, how do you think I rang the
The
doorbell?
doorbell. I'm obviously sexual. And, yeah.
Yeah.
But he doesn't get it. And that's the whole impetus for. He wants to fit in with the other guys,
Right,
basically.
right.
Do I not get it? And so they all want to get it. So they watch the movie together.
Mhm.
They watch the porno film together. Which, all right, gotta ask you this first of all.
Yeah.
Because this gets into some very interesting territory. Would that be something that would happen a lot back in the day? Would a bunch of young guys want to do? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay, 'cause-
we did, dude. Okay, so I was in, let's see, probably about the same age. I was probably about 9th or 10th
Uh-huh.
grade, and we had a video store locally that we would rent from, and they had a back room,
Sure.
where all the porn tapes were, and when tapes get worn out, they just get tossed in the dumpster. My little brother's friend, and they were probably in 7th grade at the time, found one of those tapes in the dumpster, and the one day he brought it over and we all just watched it.
Okay, all right.
Yep,
Well,
that happened.
All right. Well, that never happened for me. I guess
Yeah.
growing up in like
Well,
the internet.
I was going to say, you
age,
were a
know.
little internet-y by the time you were a teenager.
So for me, that sort of thing
Internet
would have been more
it was very, very in its infancy and not a lot of
porn
and-
accessible.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it was a dial-up, so it was like one picture would take 20 minutes to download.
It's an interesting Freaks and Geeks scenario, but we have to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, like...
So, yeah, that did happen.
Exposure, at least from what I know, was more individual, private, kind of.
No,
Didn't
because
share a
it was
lot
so
of...
scarce.
Let's watch
back
it.
then, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 90s.
Like,
back then, it was like if you found like one time, me and my friend found a Playboy in the woods.
I was gonna say, I feel
so
like
we leafed through that together. And,
I guess maybe when I was young, maybe like if somebody had like a porno magazine, maybe look at
that was big too. Like
that's more of a thing.
Yeah. Well, I just told you off air. I was watching that show Rami today.
Mm-hmm.
So they were doing a 9/11 episode because he's Muslim, so they were doing that. But the beginning of the episode was he was learning some things about his body, and on the way to school, him and his buddies were talking about like, oh yeah, my dad's Playboy stash, and oh yeah, my and that was in 2001. It took place. So, this is a thing that has been until like the last, I would say, 15 years, where the internet is just everywhere, and 5-year-olds have iPads and whatever.
It's everywhere.
Back in the day, it was like, yeah, you would get a magazine from your dad or your older brother or a video, yeah.
Because I wanted to ask you that because I couldn't quite relate to that thing.
Okay.
But I sort of, but not really. And I thought that the reactions for each of the boys was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of believable in a way, though it sort of surprised me. To be honest, but I guess I could see it.
Because you thought they would know a little more than that after having the sex ed class, or
no? I thought the reactions were interesting because Neil was really interested in it.
Neil was
really into it.
Yeah,
and they have the fades over time to show time passing.
Right.
And Sam and Bill are both slowly cringing and moving fast. Like Sam's really uncomfortable about it.
Nothing phases Bill.
Nothing ever phases
Bill. Nothing ever phases Bill.
Poor Bill is so like him.
He's like
I felt
he's shocked.
I felt
about this.
Bad for them because Sam and Bill were clearly not. I don't know if they weren't ready. We'll have to talk.
I don't know if they were ready for it
because they were both very uncomfortable and they both want to leave. And Neil's just you like that, so it was their reactions. Were
at the end of it, he's like, "Do you want me to run it again?" And they're like, "I gotta go.
I'm out of here." Like
and then the next day at lunch,
Neil's like,
nobody's really looking at each other.
They're all awkward about
Neil's
it.
trying to like, "Oh, you guys see Dukes of Hazzard last night?"
Oh yeah, the Bob
and
Hogg,
Bill, Boss Hogg, and Bill was just like, that was funny.
It was funny.
Like they just don't want to look at each other,
and I guess they might feel uncomfortable. Though it was interesting that Neil was more uncomfortable afterwards. Like when he thought about it.
Well, yeah, because I guess I don't know. I guess maybe he thought they were all
having a good time.
Thinking the same thing and having a good time, and then he realized, I think that maybe his friends were not having such a good time.
And like maybe they thought it was strange, scary, confusing, and I thought that was realistic.
Now,
believable.
As an aside, did you enjoy the part where
I did?
Okay.
Yes.
There's an inside joke between Joe and I. That he used to watch Triple X, the movie, not like a porn movie, but the Vin Diesel movie, Triple X, because there were bare breasts in it. When you were like 12, 13, you loved it. You loved watching it.
I believe that was the director's cut. The original cut, she had a bra.
Yes, director's cut. But you loved it, and you have been called a real sickie for that.
I don't know. I think that was a joke, right? No,
that was real. And so in this episode, Sam says to Neil, like, we can't watch that. Like, that's only sick people watch porn and stuff. So of course Neil's like, well, then every adult male in the world is a sickie.
Exactly.
He's a pervert. He called him pervert.
Neil, for his age, is like very comfortable with his sexuality and stuff. And
look, you could tell that by that second episode where they're having the party and he goes into like sort of sweet talk Lindsay. Like,
he's the mature one.
He's a bit smooth.
He's a bit smooth and he's maybe a little more developed perhaps than his friends.
I think so.
And which is an interesting contrast to how like he's also smaller. You wouldn't think so.
Yeah, true.
But I thought that Bill and Sam's reactions were actually understandable and believable too.
Yeah.
And seeing that they weren't all on the same level kind of like made their friendship go turbulent a little bit.
I really didn't like that when Cindy came over to the table at lunch. Sam didn't want to have anything to do with her
because it's like, oh, she's a girl. This is weird. But I could see.
Here's what I thought. Here's what I think in that moment.
Okay.
That is going through his mind. She knows. She knows that I watched that video. Because in his mind he's like, I'm changed. I'm such a changed person now. I'm. You know how when you're trying to get away with something as a kid,
you get paranoid.
And think. I mean, look, Lindsay thought there was a note written about her in the cheating.
And she believed it.
So I think in his
projecting
mind,
kind of.
He's projecting like that I'm sick. I watched that
Like
tape.
I'm a pervert, or
right,
like this is
right. She knows I'm a pervert. She's got to know.
It's also complicated.
That's what I think happened.
And I'll add to that. I think he also likes this girl. He's trying to kind of like get with her, but he's going through different feelings. So like, is she just a sex object like in this porno movie?
Yeah, like he doesn't
want to look at
wants?
her.
Well,
is
it's
this
funny.
It's interesting.
It's funny you say that because
it's really interesting.
We see her in that scene. She's at the next table over, and Sam, sort of has a line of sight with her, and she's sort of like bending over a little bit. So apparently the original cut, and they decided they couldn't do that because the characters were too young. But she was like leaning over the table,
like
kind of like, and he was like staring at her butt, like that kind of thing. So it was even more like sexualized in the original script.
Well, and I think that it his performance and the writing, I think, just
great as always
shows the complicated feelings because he's worried about how to view her, how to approach her, because he has some sexual feelings, obviously, but it's conflicted with his emotions. How do you conduct yourself? How do I feel? Am I not good enough to have to be like the guys in the porno movie? So many thoughts.
So he's like,
I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it.
She wants him to help
with the ice cream.
With the ice cream thing, and which he wanted to help at the beginning of the episode. She was like, "No, I have people to help." So she comes over to the table. Actually, the dude canceled. He's out of town this weekend. Do you want to help? And he's like, "Oh, I can't." And it's like, "Oh, dude, that sucks."
And I'm like,
I hate watching that.
And the funny thing was, I'll tell you, you know what I actually said out loud I was watching it.
Oh no.
No, I said, do it. Come on, go. Like
you're getting into this show, Joe.
Yes, because I can relate. I've been there, and I'm like some cute girl comes up to me.
You were real sicky at 12. Everyone knows that.
I'm just saying, like I wasn't that smooth. I think Sam's adorable.
Yes.
Like go work the ice cream truck with her. Get to know. Like I'm like, do it.
But he's too awkward and he's too nervous and
which
all
makes
that.
sense because he's like 14,
total
15,
sense.
like whatever. So
total sense.
Makes total.
Yeah.
So it's like it's one of those things that it's tough, but like I get it completely. Get it. It's total sympathy.
Well, and she's clearly started to develop a little bit physically, and he is not really.
And he feels insecure about that, which we know.
Right, so he's very insecure about that. We saw that from the What's Your Face episode. Rashida Jones.
Oh, Rashida Jones, yep.
So,
geek.
Yeah, geek, she called him. All right, so let's see.
Good stuff.
So what else with that plot?
Oh, well, also how... also my...
With the coach.
All right, also,
Biff
twist.
Tannen.
Want a twist?
Yeah.
I don't know if there'll be a twist.
Okay.
You ready?
Loved it.
All right.
Well, that's not much of a twist.
No, I don't know. I was thinking, like, is this happening? Like, I want to know, like, am I watching this wrong? Because, all right, the first introduction to Biff as the coach, which I didn't recognize, terrible, horrible person. And I'm thinking, and this is why I think it's a great episode about the teachers and the adults.
Yeah.
And this is so good.
That's the pilot. He was barely even in the pilot. He was just a caricature,
but
really, in the pilot.
I know. I'm glad they gave him a character because even when you open it up where he's kind of making fun of Sam. There was that little thing where you could tell he's being hard on him. He's maybe not acceptable now, but in his own way, he's trying to help him out because he thinks he is. And I like that little pat on the shoulder, like I got you, kid.
Yeah.
And then I do love that they send the questions in, and he's like, I knew those questions for years.
Oh, yeah.
Because nobody else has
Star Trek paper. Your favorite part.
That was good. Not my favorite joke, actually.
Your favorite joke was when the dad says that would be a start.
Also great.
Okay.
No, you're missing the most obvious nerdy joke. Classic Neil, classic Bill.
Something with Dukes of Hazzard? What?
Towards the beginning, when they're in the class, they're looking at like the female. Didn't Sigourney Weaver fight that? Didn't that pop into that guy's chest? No, it was the alien bit. Was
right.
Was
okay,
pretty good.
yeah.
Had to get one of those.
Sure.
That was good, but
like when the mom says she enjoys red buttons and his jokes.
All right.
You don't know who that is?
No, I guess not. All right,
50s TV star.
The one joke I liked with the dad was when Sam's trying to explain the joke to everybody, and the mother doesn't get it, and the dad doesn't get it, but doesn't feel the deal with it. No,
I think he gets it.
No, he does get it, but he doesn't think it's funny.
But
like,
he
does.
Funny? Right.
No.
Right.
Because he doesn't want to deal with that conversation.
Well, he asks him if he gets it instead of.
There's that moment of silence.
Yeah.
No, it's not funny. It's not funny. But that was great. That was a great dad moment.
Well, they're all great dad moments.
He's great. So many great things in this episode.
All right.
It is. And Biff.
So all right. So get back to the coach and the
Biff.
Coach Biff.
Okay, goes back, says like, I was wondering. I learned some things from. I watched this movie. Oh,
he knows right away.
I could get in some trouble, but you know what? will have some, for instance, and they pulls them aside and they have this weird conversation. You don't really hear what they say because they're playing porno music over it.
Yes.
And you kind of get the sense that...
Guess what they're actually talking about to get those reactions?
What?
Biff is actually telling him dirty jokes.
Seriously?
Yep.
It's like...
So that's how they got these different laughing reactions, surprise reactions from Sam.
It was interesting we don't know exactly what the coach tells him.
Right.
But we get the sense that he's trying to kind of be honest with him and give him a little extra tutoring, if you will.
Yes.
About not just, I guess, the basics, but, I don't know, some ideas about...
And at the end of the talk...
How to conduct yourself.
He asks him what this joke means.
He
starts telling him the joke, and he's like, tell me what this means. So he's still laser focused on
just
what
figuring out that
is.
joke.
Yeah.
Like, he still doesn't quite get that.
Yeah.
But I like that. Great moment, and I was like, well, I actually like the coach guy.
Coach Biff.
I liked Biff.
I call him Coach Biff.
Definitely the nicest I've ever seen Biff.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, he recurs. He's in a couple more episodes.
I really like that episode.
Not as much as the guidance counselor, but yeah.
Well, you can't.
Mr. Rosso is about the best around.
He's really good.
He's one of your favorites.
He's really nice. He's one of your favorites too, Dad.
I do love him. I know. All right, I love him.
Screw that guy.
That's fine. I know you like the math teacher a lot, but not more than
he's a well-written
counselor.
Character.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. I don't really like the guy that much.
All right. So let's see. What else can we discuss?
I think we actually covered the basics. So
we've covered the basics. We've covered another. It's another. I told you it wasn't going to be 40 minutes. It's been a bit over 40.
You thought 50.
I thought 50 was too much. I said it should be about 30 to 35 for this episode.
Well, we beat that.
You said, well, it's us, so that won't happen.
But I said maybe 30.
What else could we... I know, and it didn't hit that. What else could we talk about before we adjourn this episode? Well, first of all, we have to give a grade, because last time...
We didn't give a grade.
Kim Kelly, we forgot to give a darn grade. So I had to put it in the description, which was an A, of course. But
I probably agree with that. A plus probably. It was really good.
For the Kim Kelly, yeah.
Yeah, it was very good.
It was a great episode. But before we grade it, is there anything else we need to go over? I think we really hit all the major parts here.
Bill did not get to shine as much for funny, but he did have one where he was like, I don't like jokes. They don't make me laugh. It was pretty good.
Oh, yes, when they were telling the joke. And
I don't like jokes.
I don't like jokes.
That's funny. That was good.
Because they didn't get it. So
he felt insecure about it. So
yes.
There was a lot of... I liked Bill a lot in this episode for
joke,
different reasons.
by the way, look, I keep a clean... No, it's not in the commentary.
Oh, okay.
Did you not get the joke?
I do generally get the joke.
So basically, the joke that runs through this episode, if you've not seen it, is that, a man with no arms, no legs,
I missed that part, actually.
Oh, that's the whole joke.
I heard the Bell part.
Yeah, so the man with no arms and no legs is like the start of the joke, and then they always cut to basically the punchline in this episode, which is, how do you think I rang the doorbell? So I guess the joke is he rang it with his engorged penis. Okay, fine.
Sure.
So, but the kids don't know that.
Yeah.
And so, it has to be explained to them through the porno movie. Like, once they watch the movie, Sam completely gets it, and he's starting to tell other people
the joke
at school. But,
Yeah.
Neil, rather. But Sam still doesn't get it.
Yeah.
So he just starts telling people, hoping they'll explain it to him.
Like, what?
Yeah. So anyway, that's the joke we keep talking about, if you've not seen the episode.
Yeah.
If you've not seen the episode, you should
probably
watch the episode.
Probably shouldn't be this far in the video.
Before these commentaries. But what else? That's about it, really.
Well, honestly, I guess I'm really just curious more about the grade and the discussion of quality of the episode, because I feel like you're like, it's going to be a quick one, probably not a great episode for you, but I don't know, Dan. I think this is a very good episode.
Hold on.
You just seem like, this is whatever.
Hold on.
Okay.
Quick. When I say, I think this should be a quick episode, doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad episode.
But like,
listen,
remember the one where you thought it wasn't going to be a talker, and it was like,
that was a big talker. You changed my mind on that one, though.
Okay.
You brought up a whole bunch of other things. That was the episode right before Kim Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
It was at the Halloween one, I guess.
Yeah.
So listen, no, I don't mind saying that of the 5 episodes,
that
we've seen so far, this is the weakest for me.
Sure.
For sure.
Sure.
Why? Is it the weakest for you?
Pilot.
pilot
Beers
was
and
great.
Weirs was great.
The Beers and Weirs great. Halloween, you love that one. Kim Kelly, you love that
Halloween
one.
with Crime and Punishment, of course.
Yeah.
And Kim Kelly was great. So
of the 5, it is the weakest.
If I had to pick the weakest of the 5, yes, I guess, but not by much.
No, maybe not by much, but it is the weakest.
I'm trying to, but tell me why.
You said, but why? Okay,
explain to me why.
Well, I just of all the 5 episodes.
Okay. Not that funny.
Well, it's it's certainly probably the least funny, I suppose.
For me, it was.
I think it had some gags
some
for
good,
sure.
Good one-liners.
But I think the proof is in something you actually said.
Tell me. Remind me.
That this episode is almost more about the parents and the teachers than it is the kids.
True.
Rogan's not even in the episode.
Yeah, it's happening.
Jason Segel's barely in the episode.
Barely.
Kim Kelly is barely in the episode.
The Geeks don't even really get that much.
And the Geeks, their side story is fine. It's good, it's believable, and it gives them some growth, certainly.
True.
I don't hate the Geek side story.
That's good.
But it's true, compared to certain other episodes.
Well,
it's minimal.
I'm a Geek fan, so for their characters, it's a little less.
So for me, I think there's a lot of really good things in this episode. When I say it's the weakest of the 5, I'm not saying it's a D.
All right.
But it is, I think shines a light more on the adults, the parents. Well, they're the adults, but I mean the teachers, the parents, and Daniel, who we can agree is the most unlikable character of the kids in the show.
All right, Dan.
And does expound on his character a bit more, but
Dan,
let's be serious.
I don't want to be a contrarian.
Okay.
Okay. But I kind of agree with what you're saying. I actually agree with everything you're saying.
Okay. So that would not be contrarian.
I agree with what you're saying.
Okay, but
I don't think that necessarily makes it lesser. Because, think about from a Joe Manning perspective for a second. Okay. What you said is more about the adults. I know it's about Freaks and Geeks.
That.
Honestly, it's different, but I think having a show that has an episode that focuses more on that perspective is good, and I liked all of it. I liked all of it a lot.
There wasn't anything really wrong with it, per se.
Yeah, I thought
it focused less on the Freaks and the Geeks than any episode we've seen yet.
True.
And I feel like this show shines the most when we're coming at things from their perspective, such as the Geeks watching the porno.
True.
But I think putting our focus on Daniel at this stage in the game was interesting. It gave us some insight into his character. It hopefully gives us a starting ground for Lindsay to realize he is not for her, not the way to go, which, spoiler alert, like I already said.
Not really.
This is kind of the catharsis moment for her. But yeah, I mean, so overall, when you're talking about these other episodes being A's and A pluses, I don't think this hits that mark.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I just think that
that's all.
For fleshing out Daniel, I think it was still a good move.
Yeah, it was fine. It was a good A story.
I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think the quality of the writing dipped at all, really. Like, I think
writing wise, it's still great.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Although you did say it's not as funny.
It is not as funny, but they don't all have to be.
Some
of the best ones have been. The last one was pretty freaking dramatic.
Kim Kelly one was very, very dramatic.
So it wasn't that funny.
All right.
So no, that's not necessarily a detriment. I like the Geeks more, but this is less for them. But
less than them.
That was fun.
But that was good. But him and Coach Biff was great.
Coach Biff was good. I guess what I'm saying is, I know what you're saying. I guess
if you agree, it's the weakest of the 5. So if you don't like my reasoning, why do you think it's the weakest of the 5? Because you asked my reasoning and then you hated it, but you also say it's the weakest.
I'm trying to figure that out.
Right?
I guess.
See, I had reasons.
Well, I guess I'm just all right. My reasoning why I don't think, why I do think it's the weakest.
Yeah.
I was just trying to get you to convince me, so maybe it wouldn't be.
Okay, but I think it's the weakest, so I wouldn't convince you otherwise.
Well, I'll tell you what. I do agree that I think more of a central focus on Freaks and Geeks, more on the kids, is the main idea. But there have been great episodes and shows that do deviate sometimes, and sometimes they're some of the best episodes.
Yes, episode 5 is a bit early, though.
Too early to make it to deviate? Okay, maybe.
I don't know. So that's why that's what I think about.
All I'm saying is I don't think the teacher stuff was a detriment.
I also don't love the ending. I know it's Paul Feig's favorite ending in the series, but I like it. I think it works for the character.
Yeah.
With her realizing, but I don't like the way everybody's sort of yelling and then it just cuts. That's it.
It's not a very feel-good ending.
No, and it doesn't have to be feel good. Not all endings have to be feel good.
You just don't like the pacing of it?
I'm just not sure. I have a little bit of a. I think my biggest issue with this series as a whole is the endings of some of these episodes. They just cut it. Where I would maybe like to see another scene or something.
You like a little bit of resolution, a quiet scene or something.
Maybe, yeah.
Wrap it up a little. You know what? I agree with you.
So
some of the endings feel like they just sort of stop.
But this is certainly an unconventional ending, and I'll give them that.
I think it was a little experimental.
Yeah, a little experimental.
Yeah, I like it.
So let's grade the episode.
Sure.
It's the weakest of the bunch.
Yes, it's terrible.
Which I think would warrant it like in the A- range.
I would be okay with an A-.
You know, I mean, like I'm saying, I don't think it's a C here.
No,
I'm not Daniel in algebra class, but you know, when you're dealing with A's and A+ so far, I think this A- episode would be.
You got to give an A- once in a while.
Once in a while, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a very good episode.
Yeah,
I agree. It does feel maybe.
And I think it was a great choice to give Daniel more characterization and yet still have him be unlikable.
Yes.
I thought that was a very bold choice.
It's great writing.
Yeah.
It's bold writing. A lot of things about this episode were very bold, and that's what I like about it. That's
you
why
like boldly going.
I like boldly going. I
Yes.
do. I like pushing the envelope.
Where other shows have not gone before.
And I think this episode is definitely being experimental.
Yes.
I liked the exploration of Daniel's character.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the focus on the teachers, their perspective. Like, this is interesting stuff.
The confusion, though, of watching this episode live after the last episode didn't air
would be
like, why is Lindsay talking to Kim? Like, what is going on right now?
That would be very odd.
Very odd. Very odd.
I agree. It was very good.
But all right. Well, this is maybe our longest one yet. They keep getting longer. Even
is it the longest one?
I don't think we. Well, maybe not. Maybe we've had one that was over an hour.
We've never had. Well, maybe the first pilot.
I don't know. I think one of them.
Well,
we could sit here for another 5 minutes and think about it, and then this one would be over an hour. I thought this would be a 30 to 35 minute talker, but of course it's us. So
was that my fault?
No. It's the show's fault for being so
good.
Good.
It's good.
So many things to discuss. All right, so that will do it. We will have another Freaks and Geeks episode next Friday. And what else? I've got. Well, first of all, we have a Food Fanatics I still haven't put up about the Oreo, so I got to do that.
Put that up.
This whole week though has been a video every day, so it's like there's just no time because I did a Chadwick Boseman video, and then my usual. I did 2 movie videos because I did a standalone for Bill and Ted's, of course. I am going to do a standalone for Mulan. I've decided.
Oh no!
I think I'm going to watch it tomorrow.
Okay.
Do a standalone on that.
Dan does Disney.
Dan does Disney Plus, of course.
Disney Plus. Yeah.
So yes, but we'll be back next Friday. That'll be our next appearance on the show, on the channel. And subscribe, like all the great things. Subscribe to Merlin the Mighty, always a classic there, doing the Flamethrowers and Cinema series.
Flamethrowers
currently.
and Cinema.
And that's it. We'll see you next time. Bye.